Hey, everybody. We have, I think, just discovered the technical problem that led to a similar delay. And if that's right, it won't happen again. So I apologize. There's a lot of things I wish wouldn't happen again,
Ah,
including a number of things that happened this week that we talked about on Monday. There's
at
some
that
stuff that
Sunday.
there's some stuff that did happen this week that we didn't even really talk very much about on Monday, but I suspect we'll all be talking an awful lot about next week. So we thought we'd take at least a little bit of time and try to fly through a few items that we discussed on Monday that got adjudicated for better or worse during the week, a couple of political and legislative items that have popped on the radar screen that folks should be thinking about as we enter the weekend. And then we'll kind of cover it from there. I will say, folks that jumped on Monday, we actually got some awesome content and discussion out of suggestions that were not originally on the agenda for Monday, but ended up becoming some of the most consequential and highly covered items of the week, like that dumb bike tax,
Yeah,
which
I
we can get
mean,
into that in a minute too. So anyway, Nicole, Shana, good friends, cohorts, all the above. What happened this week? Give me something that happened this week that we should bring up for a moment. Make sure people are up to date about what the heck happened.
should we just start with the bike thing?
If you want,
Um, HB 1703. So
Mhm.
a few Republicans put forth a bill that would put a yearly registration fee on everyone's bikes. People really didn't like this one. Over 14,000 people signed in and submitted opposition, with a whopping 41 people in support. Um, and the there was a clever headline in WMUR that the Republicans backpedaled a bit
Ah,
on their bill, because our Representative Walsh, one of the people that put this forward, was saying, "Well, we never really actually expected that to pass, and I never intended for that to be what it just is the first version. It needs some work." And I'm calling baloney on that. I think he was trying to save face. But anyway, it is not going anywhere. He said, quote, "We are not going to be moving forward with this. Anybody here to testify, please don't beat up on the Transportation Committee anymore." So all of your voices were heard on the bike bill.
I mean, I think this goes to the idea of, I'm gonna of the common good and what government is supposed to do is to provide for the common good. One of the things they're supposed to do, and the irresponsibility of this legislature for cutting cutting our revenue streams. There has to be a way to fund things like bikes, paths, and roads that everybody uses. We cannot expect me to pay to pave my road, to be safe for people to walk on, drive on, bike on. And that's why we have taxes. So I think that might be a common theme for everything we're looking at right now.
I mean, if you listen to Walsh, who was the visual embodiment of beleaguered, uh, getting pummeled, he was trying. He was. If you listen to what he was saying, and MUR and their story actually caught this part of it in their package. He was really getting at the larger point. He goes, "Look, I kind of figure like we don't have a lot of money. If you use something, you should pay for it. If you don't use something, you shouldn't pay for it." Which gets to your point, Shana. I mean, if we're going to get to a place where it's a cafeteria list of different items and you grab it if you want it, you pay for it. Well, this is the argument, even if they don't say it this way, for getting rid of local public schools.
Hmm.
It's the way they look at healthcare, right? Like, hey, if you have a heart attack, you pay for the heart attack. If you don't have a heart attack, you don't have to pay for the heart attack. And of course, doesn't acknowledge the fact that for virtually all of us, the thing in government, in healthcare, in school, there is some element of scale that provides both a safety net and also access across socioeconomic lines. I mean, it's this is true in Wyoming, it's true in Mississippi, it's true in blue states, purple states like ours. But he said the quiet part out loud. You want a bike? You want a bike trail? You pay for bike trail.
Right. I mean, but this is the consequence of having the free staters in charge, and this is what they want. And they've said it, and it's time that regular voters wake up to the reality of what that means. That means
Well,
pay for services, everything, fee for services. That's
and
not the way a
no.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, you froze for a sec there. Um, yeah, I don't it's amazing that 14,000 some odd people signed in to testify against this. I think we need to collectively think about how do we pick and choose other things that we can try to get a similar like,
Mhm.
how do we get more people to sign in on some of these other things that are also really important, maybe even more important to our pocketbooks and our well-being than the bike bill?
Right.
Uh, that's something that everybody, I think, could relate to. So, how do we get
I
some
think that hits it on the nose, Nicole. I mean, like, when I searched for this on, social media, it is, bike group after bike group mobilizing their constituencies to, to this to the testimony, and so, I think personalizing it, w this is very helpful that it was so targeted and personal to people. And I think oftentimes we talk about things like the business profit tax and the BET, and it is just strictly numbers. And I think this gets to, what we're trying to do with our project, with our You Are the Media project, is um, personalizing it and making it important, making people see why, not just charts and graphs.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to do on on most issues. This one was kind of a softball, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean,
I
they're a
mean,
passionate group, the bikers.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
no question. And yesterday, right along the line, Shannon, what you just said, at the Substack, stevemarchand.com, the Substack, that the title, which some folks said it was meant to be clickbait a little bit, and I'll plead guilty. It's turning the bike tax into that dumb cat video, and the cat video. If you go and check it out, it's free to everybody to read it for the next few days. It really gets at that silly cat screen back during the pandemic when that Texas lawyer, they were doing all the hearings online and he couldn't get the cat screen off. So he's like, I don't know how to do it. And everybody's trying not to laugh. And then finally, in what is 5 years later, just the best thing ever, he says, I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a
Not a
cat.
cat.
I'm
I'm
not
not a cat. Meanwhile, the cat is looking stressed, the little gray tabby cat. I looked up the guy, and he's still an attorney in Texas, he's a divorce attorney, apparently. And he has owned it, which I'll give him credit, but he had to own it. It is rare that the legislator or the caucus in this case, does something so absurd that it breaks through to last weekend at the baby shower I went to with the non political folks. People like my folks are like, oh, yeah, it's that dumb bike tax thing. And that's all they know, but that's all they need to know. And when you get that moment for Democrats in this case, it's not going to be enough. If we don't stay on it, next week it will be gone. It will be in the ether. There will be other terrible bills, which we'll get into in a moment. They'll be gone. But this one should not be gone because it's a microcosm of something so much bigger that clearly pierces through, as you guys were just saying. And uh, Thomas Walsh is a state rep in Hooksett. Ted Gorski is a state rep in your town, Shana, in Bedford. These are two competitive House districts this fall in New Hampshire. We can't use this bill in every race across New Hampshire, but where we can use it, this should be seen as a microcosm of a thought process that would turn all services in New Hampshire, as somebody said in the quote here, said he wants to make New Hampshire a user fee state.
Well, that's good.
That's what we're talking about. So, like, as you'll see in the piece at stevemarchand.com, why did this do it? And it activates the power of nostalgia. Everybody's had a kid's bike. Everybody's
Mhm.
had a kid's bike.
Mhm.
Imagine that getting taxed at $50 a head. It's an attention economy. You were talking, Shana, about the BET. When I throw BET at people, it's a really
Yeah.
important issue. This BET tax cut they're talking about.
You
They're
can't
like,
say
you're talking about Travis Smiley on Black Entertainment
you
Television,
gotta say business enterprise tax. That does make it sound bad.
right? I'm like,
Oh,
so I mean, WMUR, I don't believe has done a story specifically about the BET proposed tax cut because, everybody will fall asleep before they get to weather, which is where the real ratings come in lately. So this one, they did do a story on it. It's sexy. It's wow. And then the third thing is, like you said, there are tons of non-politically high engagement people that rocked on this. They just want to be able to bike. It's thousands of people. There are other issues where we need to engage the non-political types. That's the work that we're doing all the time with Move the Goalpost on the collateral and the messaging that you guys know over the back of your hand and that we're trying to get around statewide. And it is connecting. And this is an opportunity as a reminder of the power of this going forward. So,
I,
watch
I
this
will
on that.
I will say that on Tuesday, the New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute is doing a webinar at 11 o'clock with their they are great at data-driven discussions, and they're having one on the BET on Monday at 11, which I'm going to go to. And if anybody wants to go to that, you can find the link at New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute's website.
for anyone that's not aware, I think this is probably a pretty highly engaged group, but the House, I believe, voted to pass a reduction in the business enterprise tax just recently. So they're going to talk about what the impact of that will be.
Yeah. So
Another tax cut for businesses. Well, not for
yeah. Right. So we'll find some tidbits there. Can we shift to
Yeah.
the hijacking of SB 101 into HB 751? So this is coming back to the House for concurrence on Thursday.
Can we tell what
Um,
it is? Yeah.
yeah. So this is the open enrollment bill.
We have a comment in the comments about this too, saying that they're getting a
Yeah.
lot of chatter from
Yeah. So this basically, I think I understand it is just anybody can go anywhere they want. And I was reading a little bit of it. I need to finish reading it, but it seems like we need to make sure we all contact our reps. Like the action item is contact your reps and tell them to say they do not concur on this on Thursday, because otherwise, if this passes, they've basically eliminated a hearing on it by doing this maneuver, and it'll go straight to the governor if it passes on Thursday.
Yeah,
Um,
for a second, like, do either of you know how this works? My question is, how in the world are they able to do this without taking any public commentary? Because I thought there was a rule that every bill has to get a public hearing in New Hampshire.
Well, it was at the hearing, right? So this bill already passed the House under 10 SB 101. Then they took it in the Senate and replaced it with this amendment that is basically HB 751. So that was, I guess, the hearing. Technically, that's how they're getting away with it. Is they're hijacking it basically. It's not
Okay, so
like
the bill itself had a hearing, but now it's completely different, and
yeah.
there has not been any new hearing. So they'll just do whatever they want.
That's correct. So, now it'll go to the House, and it's not even like a normal. I'm not even sure. It's gonna have a concurrence vote. Like so, when things go back and forth, they have to be agreed upon by the other body. And this would be do you agree with this? So we have to say, no, we do not agree with this. This is predatory. This is going to pull money out of our local school districts. There's so many questions that would be brought up in a proper hearing. How are we transporting these kids? How do we deal with costs that are over? All the different towns have different costs to educate each kid. How do you deal with the costs that are over what the receiving school district would receive? Um, Capacity issues. What about kids that are in the district? Is there some sort of procedure for if the district's full, you would give priority to kids that live in the district? Is that in there at all? Um, it's
The
just really
last time this came up, they did say it was only open enrollment for schools that were not already supposedly at capacity, and I don't know how they determined.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Well,
Steve, what do you got?
that's one of the items that has not been hammered out is the
Right.
definition of capacity. Is it based purely on students, student enrollment? Is it a square footage issue? For example, you have to have a minimum number of square feet of classroom space per student, and that would be the way that one would cap it. There are different ways that are not fully uh, fleshed out in this. I would argue the way this is set up to get done is not unlike the kerfuffle that is the elimination of the auto inspections, where they're like, pass the law, ask questions later, which is why you now have a federal judge that, with 3 days before the new law was supposed to take effect, suddenly you have police departments. I've seen the tweets, police departments around the state trying to explain to their residents how they are going to handle enforcement of a law that is squarely in flux because they didn't answer the questions before they passed the law. They're going to do the same thing with this bill. It's going to get all legaled up. It's
Yeah.
unclear, but they're trying to do it before town hall meetings
Right,
because there's direct
before
consequence.
deliberative. Right.
That's right.
So not to mention everything we just talked about, but taking away local control and control of these school districts to serve their communities.
So, I mean, one of the things I want to note here is I, and we've mentioned this earlier. This is the most consequential bill in terms of New Hampshire governance, the way we raise money, the way we spend it on one of the core issues that is public education, and its downstream effects on everything from property taxes to housing values to transportation. This is the single biggest bill New Hampshire will face this year. I would argue it has the potential to be even more consequential in a vacuum than the full school voucher bill turned into law last year. They're connected, but basically what this does is it is going to have the effect of taking disproportionately relatively poor, largely rural, small school districts. And if you live in that district and you have the ability to transport your kid, say, to Hanover High School or to Oyster River in Durham, one of these kind of top 10 school district kind of things, you're going to be able to go there and it's going to leave the kids in the toughest position left. It will make it more expensive for people in the poor district. They already can't afford it. They will have less scale, which is already arguably the biggest problem we faced in New Hampshire in the way we educate kids. It's going to exacerbate the difference in have or have not. Because if you're in a relatively poor community, but you have the ability for a two-parent household with one parent who's able to drive to Hanover every day from Orford or something and drive your kid, you're going to be a huge winner. And by the way, this amendment, unlike what they were debating earlier, it used to be that if your school district had a lower cost per pupil, a different cost per pupil than the district they were going to, there was no, it was dealt with between the districts. Now, if the district you're coming from is cheaper per pupil than the one you're going to, in order to go to that school, the family must pay in the form of tuition, the delta. So now, not only is it a transportation delta difference,
You got to be able to afford the difference.
which is typically going to be anything from, in the cases where it applies, it'll be between $500 and $5,000 a kid. depending on the
I
method.
wonder too if they'll allow them to then apply for EFA funds.
Well, I mean, probably. I mean, that's an interesting thing. I don't think it's directly addressed here, but that would be the
Current
next
the
frontier.
current rule is that you cannot be enrolled in your public school system or public charter school, but this would not be your public school, so I don't
Right. Check out Michelle's comment.
Please.
What do you think about that? She's saying she thinks this is a precursor to the Republican plan to consolidate 117 SAUs into 12. I mean,
Uh,
I think it's all part of the master plan to
think
do
that could make sense.
that.
Yeah.
I agree with this. By the way, a shout out to Michelle,
Yeah.
who I hope I'm not making an announcement on your behalf. Michelle was an awesome candidate for state house in 2024, and I believe is either considering, and I guess you consider this lobbying for you, to run in 26 in a district that I think is one of the most interesting and promising for House Democrats. So Michelle, offline, like this is exactly what we need.
Hmm.
That's a sophisticated take. That's exactly what they want. And by the way, consolidating some SAUs, I'm all in, but there's a carrot way to do it and there's a stick way to do it. What this bill, combined with the other things they've done already, is the ultimate stick way. One, I talked to yesterday I was in Concord. I talked to somebody who was a prominent lobbyist. I bumped into him. We talked about this bill. He said he talked to a prominent Republican state senator about this bill yesterday. The lobbyist, who's sympathetic to Democrats, said to this Republican, don't you know that this is going to absolutely tank some small,
Right.
largely rural, poor school districts? And and the Republican state senator said, yes, to some extent, that is the point.
Yeah.
In a dynamic economy, this person said, businesses that can't make it fail. It happens all the time. It's time for the same kind of dynamic to be applied in the schools. That's not a carrot approach. That's a stick approach.
And I think this is tied to the amendment on 1300, the tax cap, um, which was what,
Yeah.
675 before?
All kinds of
Yep.
slimy ways to sneak this stuff in. Um, while you're mentioning a potential rep candidate, I had in my notes here, I wanted to do a plug for anybody that might be interested in running for state rep. Like in Goffstown, we're still looking for a few people. So please consider if you might be able to step into that role and talk to someone in your community or one of us, and we can connect you to someone in your community if you might want to run. All right, there's my plug.
There you go.
Thank you for doing that. It's
Right.
time.
So that's gonna be a hot bill. That vote is Thursday. It
And
will
so
not be a public hearing.
the action item is to email your House reps on this one. It's
Yeah, and I think
HB.
we'll probably put that in our action alert this week.
Yeah,
too.
it'll be in the action alert.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Are we calling it? Is it SB 101 or HB 751 at this point?
751 now.
751.
Yeah.
Yep. I will
Um,
also note, and we'll see, we don't have a date or time yet, where the last few weeks we've begun the rhythm of a preview of the coming week.
Right.
We'll commiserate. But something that you can see us, we're having our workshop meeting live. One thing that I will be preparing, I do think one of the most effective ways that folks that are on this side of the issue of this 751 is to identify specific legislators that are in specific districts
Mhm.
that are poised to be most damaged if this becomes law. And I think we can identify on a variety of ways what districts those are. And what I'm hoping is that by the beginning of next week, we might be able to present to folks who some of those specific state rep districts might be. I would note some of the 22 Republicans that voted against HB 675 a few weeks ago, the one that would have put the state cap on local per pupil spending, some of those may be in that situation again. And if we're being honest, have already exhibited some willingness to be independent and show some courage, and you get the respect for that. And they may be in that boat again. So we'll have some of that information. I'm not too worried about too many Democrats that are going to consider supporting this bill. The question is going to be, are there largely Republican state reps in districts that are poised to be really harmed quite badly if this
Mhm.
becomes law. We need to get that information out to folks and let them know.
Yeah, definitely. I want to make sure we get to Nicole 1709.
Oh, yeah, I I woke up to this morning. We categorize these in our notes as the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is one of the ugly things that happened this past week. We talked about it on our upcoming alert call earlier in the week. It's the housing policy that is actually just an anti-immigrant policy. We called it in disguise, but I think they're being very open about it being an anti-immigrant policy. And this primary sponsor is one of my reps, Joe Alexander, and one of my other reps, Ross Berry, is also on there. So just really loving what they're putting out these days. But basically,
And the quote is so bad.
yes. So this is the
And the
bill.
hearing is so bad. Sorry.
I'm glad we're all feeling the same way about things here. Um, so this is the bill that would have made it a felony to not disclose your immigration status when you're trying to rent an apartment. So it would make it really hard for people of any minority to rent an apartment, because who wants to admit to somebody that they are, even a legal immigrant at this point? Like, even that is putting a target on your back. And Joe Alexander made it very clear that he doesn't care. His quote is, illegal aliens are not welcome in the Granite State, and by passing this bill, we will continue to make sure that there is nowhere they can live. So they are happy to just say, if you are an immigrant, you should not have a home. Um,
But
then,
then make them a
yep.
felon.
And then also make them a felon
Yep.
in the
Right.
process for not reporting that they are an immigrant.
Yeah.
And then it went a step further, there was a Democratic rep, I think it was David Page. Is that the North Conway rep?
Yes.
Page.
And he
Yeah.
said, "You know what? What about these immigrants' children that are American citizens? We're going to make kids, have trouble with housing. Like, is that your intent? And if so, like, how can we make sure that these children can be housed in our state?" And his response again was, "My intent is, if you are here illegally, you are not welcome and you should not have housing." That's direct quote from Representative Alexander. So he apparently doesn't think even kids should have housing, and this put me in a little bit of a spin when I woke up this morning. So yeah, that's the ugly. There is a recording of that hearing that was on the 27th, if anybody wants to go check it out. Um, where is it this?
Start at hour 5. 5 the hearing on HB 1709 on the House Committee on Housing on YouTube, hour 5, minute 3, and you can yourself listen.
And so here's the contrast between 14,000 people signing in on the bike bill, right? Um, 355 people signed in to oppose this bill. It is much better than the 13 that came to support it, but 355 compared to 14,000, I have to
Right.
think that there are a lot of people that would oppose this if they knew about it. So we just got to get the word out there about these things. Um, what would be the next step on this? Is it just to email the whole your House reps, right? Because it goes to the full House now. I don't know. I didn't see that they had come up with a recommendation one way or the other on the committee. So could be possibly just to
Yeah,
the committee.
I think it's still gonna be in committee. Hold on, I'm looking at the docket. Yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
just still in committee. It hasn't been moved either way yet.
So
So,
this is HB 1709. If anybody wants to email the Housing Committee, all the committee email addresses are listed on the General Court website. And yeah, there's that. Very prescient in this moment.
let's give some. Is there a good news
Yeah,
one?
there
Is
is
there
another.
is the mom's one?
Yeah, so we have another.
Oh yeah.
Can we
The
have some good news?
well, the bike bill was defeated too, so that was a good
Okay,
one.
okay.
But HB 1250, that's the one that my lovely Ross Berry had also sponsored, and it would have required that new moms provide 15-day notice to be able to see their doctor without risking their job for their own appointments or their baby's appointments. And it was ridiculous. And literally nobody submitted online support for this bill, which I thought was pretty hilarious. 332 people did oppose it, and the committee ended up voting 20-0 to make it inexpedient to legislate.
Wow.
So I guess even Mr. Barry there, or was he? He might not have been on the committee, but yeah, 20-0. And that's because people really came out and testified against this. So that's a win.
That's a
That's
win.
That's a win.
And I mean, some of it, to some extent, this is another one of those bills that virtually everybody on some level should be able to get their mind around,
Mhm.
right? Like anybody who's been a dad, like, you should, this should not be just women understanding this, right? Like, that's pretty bad. So, anybody's been around, everybody's been a kid, I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless we got like some 7-year-old watching who's like, I don't really know what it's like to be 8 yet. I mean, that would be about it. But like, pretty much
According to my
everybody else.
kids, if it were my kids, would be like, no, nobody's going to show up to your live stream, mom. So
See?
there's no kids
So this should be easy to get your mind around. And by the way, nobody wants to put their name on this except your rep.
except Ross Berry.
Yeah.
Somebody please come run in the Ware Goffstown Flotarial seat against Ross Berry. Thank you. All right. So I think that's all we got for good. So unfortunately, I think we're moving on to all bad from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, there was one HB 1196 repealing the state housing champion
Oh,
designation and grant
Right.
program, which passed. I mean, in committee, they, I think, voted. Hold on. I can't find it now. The committee report is ought to pass on repealing that. So,
wonderful.
it's not out of committee yet. It's not up for a vote this week, but that's pretty horrible.
Considering that we, have housing as one of our primary issues in the state, and most people agree on that, this is removing funding that that helps with housing.
Well,
Yeah.
this is also going back to trying to claw back every buck they can find to account for the fact that they cut taxes that have very little impact on the vast majority of residents, but they got to find that money somewhere else. And I mean, it takes a lot of nickels and dimes to come up with a couple $100 million. So this is, relatively speaking, small money. But
Mhm.
as some of the state senators, I know Senator Rebecca Perkins Cuoco was a big advocate for this when in its inception. And I know Rebecca, she's a big believer in the look for the places where small dollars is leveraged to big impact. And this is
Mhm.
exactly what the point of this was. There was a time where it had broad support, and you can see this is where the lurch to the right of some pretty influential, where the center of gravity is in the Republican caucus, has lurched into this kind of libertarian right. And now it makes something that was bipartisan not that long ago, um, on the chopping block in 2026. So
Yeah.
this will get attention, I think, in the days to come.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just looked it up to make sure everyone knows. So, this program provides state funding for infrastructure improvements that encourage housing development. So, funding for water, sewer, other infrastructure
Yep.
upgrade, um, and provides funding for completed housing projects. So, this is funds for municipalities to help encourage new housing, and we're cutting the whole program. Apparently, at least it's passed the House.
Right, and some has already been put out, and in the methodology of in the bill, it says it's unclear. It's unclear whether this would be um clawed back, or I don't know. Are they going to ask for a refund?
I think it would claw back remaining,
Things that haven't been dispersed.
unspent dollars. I'm pretty sure about that. And look, I'm looking at folks on the relevant committee. And I keep going back to, there's some folks in some swing districts that, some of these districts, you got to be looking, if you're a Republican, you got to look over your right shoulder,
Hmm.
right? Am I being conservative enough? There's a number of folks on the committee who really should be looking towards the center over their left shoulder, because there's a lot of room there where this would be a very unpopular thing for them. I think that's where the pressure needs to be politically. Folks that are are poised to get punished by the voters for looking insensitive to what they're telling us is the number one problem facing New Hampshire, which is housing.
So it looks like you said, that this was voted on by the committee as ought to pass, 10-8. So the call to action, if you wanted to say anything, would be to email your individual House reps at this point, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
oppose this 1196, House Bill 1196. What do we got? What else?
Or the people on the committee, I think. I think it's
Well, the
still
committee already voted to.
they already voted. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
That's just for for everybody watching. It is kind of hard to figure out what the next step is when you want to
yeah.
advocate for these things. Even I'm still trying to figure it out, but yeah, that's why I always try to call out, okay, what can we actually do about it at this point if we don't agree with this or if we support something?
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
then early this coming week, again, we'll have the date and time that will tighten this up a bit. I was pleased to find out yesterday in Concord from some different folks who are pretty plugged in now that they anticipate the program at the beginning of next week because it helps give some direction about what bills are likely to get the most attention. So no pressure, I guess.
Huh?
Well, I have to think that, between the graphics and, putting them in the Reach platform and CView putting them out in an email and us doing the video, I mean, some of these things are getting, say 300 people opposed. Well, probably a decent amount of them are coming from from our communications in some way or another. So thank you all for tuning in
Yeah, it's
and for
spread the
sharing
gospel.
them with your networks as well.
Mhm.
We have another one in here we skipped over that's also bad. I don't want to be a total bummer on a Friday. HB 1487 and the election law. This was a bill that would have created an independent commission to propose redistricting maps for New Hampshire. So that would have been a good thing. Our districts are pretty gerrymandered at this point, so having an independent commission would be a positive thing. And I haven't looked into this, but Shana, you noted that it was killed.
Yeah, it's not great. I feel like this just always gets killed though. And I don't know if there are other independent commission bills. I mean, these things take time. You have to form the committee, you have to look at the maps, you have to figure all of that out, and this was an attempt to put that in place, and do the work working up to the 2031 redistricting. So I hope these folks, I know these folks will, come at this again. But it is not great. Not
By
great
the
at all.
way, Sherry Dutsey, a dear friend from Nashua, she makes a really good point here from the perspective of a legislator, just to
Hmm.
plug this into all this.
Hmm.
She writes, legislators, for the most part, only pay attention to comments from constituents, people eligible to vote for them, where there's, so if you have limited time, right, and you can only focus on so much, everybody's got limited time. Uh, think about who your legislators are and always make sure that they know if you are a constituent of theirs, specifically, always mention that at the very top. And if you're sending like a conventional email or something like that, always put it again at the bottom because there's a lot
Yeah.
of science that shows, I'm going to show my age. Remember when people used to do letters to the editor? When people had
We still do
newspapers?
those.
People still do those sometimes.
Right? It still exists. But if you look at it, people read the headline,
Hmm.
which is often produced by the paper, right? You can suggest it, but they're not required to use it.
Hmm.
And then they'll read the first sentence, the last sentence, the name, and the town that the person who wrote it is from, which is typically right under the name. And
Hmm.
this is where the name and the town establishes the credibility, right? That's the quickest way. And that first sentence and the last sentence, and then everything in the middle is details to the argument, which may or may not be read. Indeed, the research shows The shorter the distance in the LTE between the first and last sentence, the more likely they are to read the sentences in the middle.
That's
Mhm.
true of any writing. Everyone needs to work on being concise in our party. We like to
Yeah.
write a lot. Um, I was just gonna say something else and I lost it, so I guess we're moving on.
Oh no. Yeah. Do we have any other bills?
Uh,
Uh, there's a good bill to restrict collection and disclosure of autism-related data by state agencies, which seems like that should be um, a HIPAA violation. So it's HB 1316. Just want to lift up to support that. It has a public hearing on the 4th. That has no place in anything. There should not be a list like that.
we can put that in our alert for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. A bill that I don't think we had on the list, but actually I talked to somebody this morning about it. I just want to throw this out. It kind of got disproportionate attention. It was HB 451. It actually passed the Senate and the House. So the governor is now waiting for the governor's decision on this. It's the Paint Product Stewardship Program. And
Oh yeah,
so
that one went through, right?
it went through. It has not been signed or vetoed yet.
What is this?
It's a bipartisan bill, very bipartisan.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking at the page. What does it
Yeah,
do?
like most people watching, most people in New Hampshire have probably seen or gotten stuck trying to take their trash to the dump or something, and they got stuck in a line because it was a hazmat recycling day, and everybody gets in line to dump the stuff. And paint is a big part of this. People don't know what to do with the paint. So, I mean, I was talking to an ex mayor the other day about this bill, and he said that his city used to get about $40,000 a year from the state to pay for the costs associated with the collection and the disposal of these hazmat and paint and such thing. These days, they usually do 1 or 2 times a year. Well, that was about a decade ago. Now, this year, city gets $8,000.
Wow.
Right? The cost has certainly gone up,
Hmm.
but 80% of the state funding is gone. When we talk about downshifting, this is actually what we're talking about. We're talking like that $32,000 of lost state revenue.
Hmm.
You have to make a decision. Either you're not going to do those days anymore, which have all kinds of problems, because then you're asking people to solve the problem themselves and just pay for it direct out of their own pocket, or you raise your local property taxes to make up the $32,000 or so that the state no longer gives for these days, which are very popular. So this would have created a modest fee per gallon of paint. Basically a user fee, which Republicans liked it, that everybody thought was going to blow through. It's a national program, and that money would be allowed to would be created to allow for the processing and disposal of it. It was a way to do what we used to do without people having to dig it out of their own pockets. The
Hmm.
irony is this could be seen as a fee where if you buy paint, then you pay the fee, right? If you don't buy paint, then you wouldn't have to pay this fee. But Governor Ayotte has been convinced by some conservative groups that this is a tax and that it's a paint tax. So, okay, I guess it depends what we're talking about. I guess
Well, you know
sometimes
what? They have lots and lots of fees that they just put out last year. What, last year? I don't know, that they all just came in. So many new fees or increases in fees. They're not calling any of those taxes.
But this one, they got the right people to the governor's office. It passed the House, it passed the Senate. Again, bipartisan, Republican controlled House and Senate. Lots of Dems and Republicans voted for this bill. So if you know somebody, particularly if you know a Republican or somebody unaligned who can call in to the governor's office and say, hey, that paint stewardship bill that's going to be hitting your desk sometime in the next week or two, you should support it. Like, I'm a Republican. I support my Republican rep. He or she supported it. This would be a good time to communicate that. This had broad appeal, seemed like a no-brainer. Suddenly, it may or may not get signed by Governor Ayotte. She needs to hear from people across the aisle. This is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, to bring it to a human level, the reason why we want something like this is because we don't want paint to be thrown in our landfills and seep into our water table.
Right.
We all have wells, most of us, and that kind of thing is going to be a pollutant in our drinking water for our families, and it just this seems like a no-brainer to me.
So HB 451 is called the Paint Product Stewardship Program. Not uncommon in other parts of the country, including red states. Oh my God,
I'm
you
also
name it.
I'm looking at it right now too. So the initial fee shall not be more than 75 cents for containers larger than a half pint up to a gallon, 175 for containers from 1 to 2 gallons, and $3 for containers larger than 2 gallons. So we are not talking about an expensive fee.
Mhm.
Um, 75 cents for your small paint cannon.
Yeah, a little pint, and so we'll see how that goes. But again, are there other bills that are bigger in terms, like this open enrollment? Is that like potential earthquake in public policy in New Hampshire? Yes, it is. But these other bills matter a lot too, like you said, for the environment, and also like let's be consistent here,
Right.
and hopefully that she could be influenced.
I
Uh,
mean, I would put that one under health. Like it is
Absolutely,
our public health. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, and we have not fully reviewed the bills for next week yet, so we will be doing that and have another Zoom coming up, or
Well,
Zoom. What is this?
this is what we do
Substack.
on our
Right, yes,
weekend.
the
Yeah,
Substack,
yeah,
Live, I guess, yeah, and then
yeah. This is our
we
weekend.
record it, we get the recording out to your non-Substack friends, so you could spread it that way, that
Yeah.
as well. One thing I did note the other day that we would do a quick, initial breeze through the state senate, and then, a bill, an amendment to, upend public education, came up, and suddenly there's your 10 minutes on that. So
Mhm.
we'll get to that in the near future. As I have the last two cycles, sometime in the late winter, I'll be doing like a much broader program on all the state senate districts. There is a real potential. We're at 16-8 Republican. There's a real opportunity here to not just make a big dent in it, but potentially even get a narrow majority. But it requires the threading of a needle, and I think getting that conversation going in the activist community is important, and we'll do our part on that as well. It's a big deal, but not today.
Not today, no. And I will mention there's a rally tomorrow in Concord at noon. An ice out for good is what they're calling it. If anybody wants to venture out in the 10 degrees, with their signs for that. I know there are a lot of actions going on. There's a lot of action going on right now
Yeah,
in
we just had a
Washington.
oh, sorry.
I don't even know where it stands right now. It keeps going back and forth. What's going on in Washington? So I don't know that I can even speak on it right now.
I just wanted to say that we had a wonderful vigil in Goffstown on
Mhm,
Wednesday. About 150
mhm.
people showed up to honor and remember victims of ICE violence. Um, so if you're thinking about organizing something, just do it. But also, my point of bringing this up was it was very cold.
Mhm.
I wore nice warm boots with the foot liners in them. That was clutch. So if you're going out, consider getting some of those heated foot liners.
Needed
Um,
footliners?
well, they're like
The
they're the
break
disposable ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're flat and they're in the shape of like
Oh,
a
that's
shoe.
great.
I got
Yeah.
them
really good.
I got them for skiing because 'cause I'm always so cold skiing, but so I
Okay.
threw some in my boots, and then I also wore snow pants and all jacket and everything, but
Yeah.
the foot liners help a lot.
Thank
I
you.
think you can get them at, like, Ace. I've seen them
Mhm.
before. They're like Grabbers brand, so if anybody
Okay.
get the heat
Okay.
toe warmers if you can't find those, but keeping your feet
Yeah.
will help you stay.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I hope that the federal funding thing
We didn't even talk
re
about that.
resolves. I don't know. I just read something else that it's going back and forth. It's being blocked by this side, blocked by that side. So I don't even know where it stands right now. I don't know.
I guess I'll throw it out there that I was pretty disappointed to see that we got the 2-week short-term funding. I'm like, I think people were pretty clear, like, we don't want any more funding going to ICE, so I'm not sure why Democrats were like, "Okay, we'll do 2 more weeks." But, I mean, here we
Right.
go.
I'm
Yeah.
looking for any
So
update on that.
it
Uh,
really
Now, I mean, look, there's so much news going on. It's at the state and the federal level. It's really easy for big stuff to go under the radar. I mean, oh, by the way, Trump picked his next Fed chair this morning,
Right.
which is a big deal. And his name's Kevin Warsh, and he's a pretty public figure. He has a lot of content on the record. Go to the CNBC page on YouTube and just you'll find plenty of Kevin Warsh. This is a guy that he needs to be confirmed. It's not clear that that'll be a easy to go, but that affects the economy, the global economy.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. I mean, it's even stuff like if it's Friday, it's another info dump of Epstein files.
Yes. I just saw that right before we got on. So
I heard that one.
Just happened.
Hopefully it's not all just redactions.
Well,
It
if they
says
are, you might
millions
be
of
able to
pages.
copy paste them into the
Millions of pages to keep us busy this weekend.
It's pretty crazy. So who knows? By the time we reconvene, what will have occurred? But we'll do our best to.
I feel like they brought it down on Minnesota to distract us from the files, and now they're bringing the files out to distract us from Minnesota. Right?
That's right. It's kind of like when you have two tennis balls and one dog. Like you're just like, catch this one, and then their dog's going out. You're like, how about this one? And then
we're monkey in the middle or something. Yeah.
It's not easy to keep up.
Yeah.
Need more dogs. Okay. Is that it? Are we done? Is that it?
I think that was kind of everything that we.
I'm sure there's more, but
yeah.
Well,
well,
that's an hour.
Does anyone
we will have information? Like we'll get out to you when we'll do a preview for next week. We touched on some of the issues that doubtless will be part of it. State Rep Anita Burrows. We did a podcast, Steve Marchand podcast. Anita was great. Gave us some nitty gritty about some of the legislative process relevant to some of today's conversation. Also spent some time on what I find fascinating politics of the northern part of New Hampshire, which if you like that kind of stuff, you'll really enjoy that. And you can get that wherever you get your podcasts. Steve Marchand podcast with Anita Burrows this week.
And Anita's Substack is also excellent. She spoke about the committee hearing on HB 1162, which then, we talked about last week. Then I brought that YouTube video up, which is hard to listen to. I would like to just lift up that our legislative action alerts will be on movethegoalpostnh.com on Sunday nights or Monday, probably Sunday nights. We haven't nailed that down yet. But there's a legislative alerts tab up there where you can find all of our suggestions for the week ahead.
Yay. Oh, and if you follow on Facebook, then you also will get like the shareable graphic that you can share out from there.
Folks have been great this week sharing the graphics. Shana and Nicole, amazing work you guys do to develop the communication and develop the actual collateral. And folks it seems to be sticky. Folks are sharing it at an increasing rate, which is the point. So we see that and we appreciate that.
Try to make it super easy to follow. I know some of the alerts, there's so much great information, but it can be hard as somebody that's trying to be the advocate to go through it all and decide what they have to do. So it's very action oriented.
It's overwhelming. Yeah.
As was the last 2 minutes of reminders I realized for everybody.
Right.
Anyway, just check out the stuff. We'll get this recording out as well. So if you missed it, you can just fast forward to the 58th minute and you can do it again. Okay. Don't do that. All right. Thanks, guys. Really, always great to see you.
Have a good
weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Great to see all of you for joining today. Have a great weekend. We will see you again.
Stay warm.
Bye.
Bye.